If you dared to peek at your retirement fund over the weekend, especially if it's tied to the market or the 401k, take a deep breath. Here's how the market closed today. Right now, the Dow Jones is up about 589 points. That is a substantial amount of ground that it lost on Friday when it closed down 878 points. So your 401k is at least smiling right now. The NASDAQ and the S&P 500 also in the green today. The rally resulting from President Trump softening that 100% tariff on China threat. Scripps News business and tech correspondent Mara Barrett joins us now. She says the administration spent a lot of the weekend calming nerves. Mara, investors did not like the president threatening China with those tariffs of more than 100%.
Right, Ellen. You can see, though, they appear to be assuaged given how we saw the market bounce back most of the way today. The drop-off, the nosedive, I should say, on Friday lost about $2 trillion in market share. And so those numbers that you just highlighted brought us back to over half of what was lost on Friday. So maybe wait a little bit longer until you look at that 401k again, given how we've gotten so used to seeing these record highs across all indices. But just to break down how we got here, and I want to highlight policy did not change from today to Friday. We just saw a change in tone from the president. He reacted very quickly on Friday when China announced a limit on exports of its rare earth materials, and that's something that the U.S. is really looking to capitalize on because we use it in a lot of our smartphones, electric vehicle production, U.S. defense. And so the president snapped back and said that he was going to issue these over 100% tariffs on China, was going to cancel a meeting with Chinese President Xi that's coming up at the end of the month. And the markets were understandably frightened because of that. But then over the weekend, we saw the president soften his tone. He posted on Truth Social, "Don't worry about China. It will all be fine. Highly respected President Xi just had a bad moment. He doesn't want depression for his country, and neither do I. The USA just wants to help China, not hurt it." And so this softer message, a notable pivot from that quick snap response on Friday, appeared to really help investors' confidence in the market. And this was clearly a full attempt from the Trump administration to kind of communicate this, because Vice President J.D. Vance had a similar message, though he was a little bit more firm. I want to hear how he communicated to China about negotiations on his appearance on Fox News on Sunday.
It's going to be a delicate dance, and a lot of it is going to depend on how the Chinese respond. If they respond in a highly aggressive manner, I guarantee you the President of the United States has far more cards than the People's Republic of China. If, however, they're willing to be reasonable, then Donald Trump is always willing to be a reasonable negotiator. We're going to find out a lot in the weeks to come about whether China wants to start a trade war with us or whether they actually want to be reasonable.
Now, Chinese officials over the weekend said that they do not want a trade war, but they're not afraid of it. And so we'll have to continue to watch and see when the president meets with President Xi later this month, how those conversations go. I think it's also important to note that the deadline for the truce to expire between the U.S. and China about the tariff reduction that they put into place a little while back to kind of reduce those tit-for-tat tariffs that had started to escalate, that expires November 1st. And so while over the weekend there were no new deals, no new data, there were some AI investment announcements today that definitely drove the market a little bit, but largely what we saw in this rebound was not policy, but in fact vibes or just tone from the president, Del.
Amara, the drama over rare earths ultimately comes down to whether or not the United States can be well equipped when it comes to national security. So what is this really all about?
Well, rare earth minerals are something that we've used more and more in our daily life, whether you realize it or not. It's the materials that go into batteries for heart monitors or pacemakers, for example, smartphones, those key elements in batteries for electric vehicle production. But the key thing here that the governments are really focused on is the fact that they're used in a lot of the U.S. defense systems, a lot of the materials that go towards protecting national security. And so this drama between the U.S. and China over the weekend is a reminder that while America leads often in innovation, when China controls a vast majority of the world's rare earth processing, that just gives Beijing major leverage. And so on the private side, some of corporate America is stepping in. JP Morgan Chase announced a $10 billion investment in U.S. companies focused on defense and aerospace, focused on AI and quantum computing and these energy technologies that use rare earth minerals. They basically want to see some diversification in where they're getting a lot of these, since China does have such a stronghold on it. The CEO, Jamie Dimon, point blank wrote that it's become, quote, painfully clear that the U.S. has allowed itself to become too reliant on what he called unreliable sources, highlighting again that it's essential for national security. And so that's something that we've been talking a lot about politically in the last couple of months, given the AI boom, all the energy sources that we have seen to need when it comes to all these data centers that are being built, and just innovation in general, access to these critical minerals, these rare earths, like lithium, for example, is something that any country that wants to be on top of development is going to need to have access to. And so that's something that we'll continue to watch in those conversations between U.S. and China, but also as more of the private sector gets involved, Del.
If you're wondering what rare earths are, they are those other symbols on the periodic table of elements that all of us ignored during our high school chemistry classes. Scripps News Business and Tech correspondent Mara Barrett. Mara, thank you very much.